Hello, Girls with Voices is back with yet another podcast. Today, leading the freedom movement is Rudo. In studio with me are two wonderful gender champions,
Spongwinkosi Moyo,
Princess Masuvo.
So today, before we begin, we're going to read the military definition of what gender is and what a gender stereotype is according to the book. So gender is defined as a social construction and codification of the differences between sexes and the social relationships between men and women. Gender issues relate to all aspects of women's and men's lives, their different opportunities, access to resources, and needs. Thus, gender is not natural or divine, but it is culturally constructed and it permeates all levels of society. Therefore, it can be deconstructed, reconstructed, and transformed by society. Sibo, what do you think about that definition?
I think it's very interesting and it highlights a lot on today's topic, which is challenging gender roles. Because as you've mentioned already, gender is a social construct. It's made by society. Therefore, there is absolutely no place that states that, let's say, for example, a woman must stay in the house. But it is a construct that society has made up under gender in order to kind of have a hold and control over things. So I feel like it's very interesting when we read the denotative meaning of gender rather than the connotative one, because now it's like we know that it's not something that is divine and that's meant to be, but it's something that was set up by a group of people before us in a system that we've adopted.
So studies have shown that gender roles and gender stereotyping is based off of what people have seen social groups doing or particular people in social groups doing. So it's a monkey see, monkey do type of situation. How does that make you feel, Princess?
It blows my mind. As you can see, I'm speechless, because from the definition that we had, you realize that gender doesn't affect a certain part of your life. It affects everything, the opportunities and where you end up. And what's disheartening the most is the fact that this is something that was socially constructed. It's not divine, And when you talk of this monkey see, monkey do business, you ask yourself, who sits down and decides, I saw that, let's do this, when it's going to affect somebody else's life,
Yes, and to add on to that as well, Princess, there's a certain video I saw on TikTok, because we're a very social media generation. So it was explaining how these systems work. So in this video, they were a group of monkeys. It was an experiment, and there was a ladder. So they put bananas on top of the ladder. So one monkey went up to try and get the bananas, and then it started raining. So the monkeys there, they knew that if I go up this ladder to try and get those bananas, even though the bananas are something good, we will all get rained on. So they removed two of the monkeys that were there originally and put in two new monkeys. When they tried going up to get the bananas, the original monkeys beat up the new monkeys. So the new monkeys then know that no, we can't go up and get the bananas, it's not allowed. And at the end of the experiment, it was only new monkeys inside, but they now knew that you do not go up to get the bananas, regardless of the fact that they don't know why, and they've never faced the consequences like the original monkeys did. So I feel like it just goes to show how it really is a construct, because in as much as we might, as this generation of women, we might not have experienced some of the repercussions of some actions that we are not allowed to do, we still don't do them because of something that could have applied to, let's say, for instance, women 20 years ago. So I feel as though gender roles and these contrasts are very, very toxic as well to us, because we are reacting to something that we have never experienced and to something that we don't know, which is restricting our development and our growth as a woman and as an individual capacity as well.
It's very important for us today to mention some of the examples of the popular or the famous gender stereotypes. For example, women are nurturing. On paper, that looks okay. What's wrong with a woman being nurturing? Women are docile, women are caring, and therefore it means that on the ground, most child rearing activities or chores are going to fall towards women. What this means is that you are a CEO of a company, you've had an 18-hour day at the office. When you come back home, your man cannot take care of the child because the gender stereotype dictates that the woman is the one who takes care of the child. Even if your husband happens to be a stay-at-home dad who spends the whole day watching his favorite soccer team losing and playing games and betting on useless things, if the gender stereotype dictates that the woman has to take care of the child, the woman will suffer. And this is just one of the many examples that we deal with. One of the other ones that really gets to me is how women cannot be found in engineering. A woman can't be a pilot or a doctor. It sounds quite weird for me to say that because we do have female engineers and doctors nowadays. But when someone says, have you seen that camera right there? It was engineered by this other wonderful engineer. Already you're going to ask, what is his name? You're not going to say, what is her name? You're going to say, what is his name? Because gender stereotyping has taught you that engineers are men and pilots are men. Oh wow, Air Panama has the most wonderful pilots. Oh, where do they recruit them from? I bet they are white guys. These are some of the stereotypes that we deal with every day. What are some stereotypes that you've personally been affected by?
Personally, when, in a way, as a woman or as a girl, you're expected, or society kind of thinks, because you're moody today, you're on your monthlies. That's a stereotype. You can't then stand up for yourself because, women are supposed to be timid. Women are supposed to sit back down and take orders, And when you stand up for yourself and then you show that I'm not a pushover, you can't push me around, I will stand up for myself, you're then looked at as a rogue woman. Like, unjani lo mntwana, And that's a stereotype that's very harmful because at the end of the day, what we're teaching young girls and upcoming women is that you don't ever stand up to something that's wrong. You just fall back down and roll with it. Roll with the punches, regardless of what is happening to you, what you think about it or you feel about it. Chuck your feelings to the side. We don't care what you feel. You just need to conform to this particular stereotype that is there and you move along with it. Don't go against the tide. Just be a woman. Do what you're expected to do.
And in a way, we're like the monkeys that Siwa was talking about on the TikTok video that she watched. Even in political spaces, when a woman wants to take charge, even if she's the right candidate for the job, she can lead us all, either as a community, as a nation, whatever political level it is. Because political spaces are not meant for women to lead in. No one is going to follow her. Like monkeys, everyone is going to say every bad thing that they can about her. Oh, she probably slept her way to the top. Oh, this woman has issues. And when these women in political spaces dare to speak out about any issues or injustices that they face, then it's said that she's probably bummed because she couldn't sleep her way to the top, or she's being emotional. She is such an emotional woman. But when a man speaks out, it's like he is confident, he is well spoken, he is bold, he is a leader. But when women speak out, it says that, well, she's being very hormonal and she's being emotional. Did you see how she was raising her voice? But in as much as the gender stereotypes affect us as girls, it's also important for us to note how they affect men, who are the ones who put them in place through the system of patriarchy. What are some of the stereotypes that you've seen affect the men in your life, or some people that you've just observed, not really having met them yourself?
All right, before I answer your question, I apologize to take us back as well to what you spoke about in women being nurturing. And I agree with you that yes, there's no negative in that statement. However, these stereotypes are somewhat used to justify men's lackings in the name of patriarchy. Because if the woman is nurturing, then why must I be nurturing? Why are we nurturing together? It's kind of like we're giving them a freeway pass to some of these things. And again, on what Princess was saying on the double standards as well that come with these stereotyping, for a man, it's like, how many girls have you slept with? 50. Oh, okay, that's cool. How many have you slept with? To the girl, 3.
Yeah.
3! All of those 3 people. So it's kind of like there's such bad, like as a woman, you will never, ever, ever have the same type of terms and conditions as you would as a man to be socially acceptable. And as you were saying, that also affects the men in many ways. For example, Indoda must be strong. A man is not supposed to cry. And in as much as, yes, they're the ones that put it in place, it hurts them as well, because now we have a high suicide rates of men as well, where our men have so much pressure on them, the pressure that they're also putting on themselves. That's when we come to see that these gender roles and these gender stereotypes do not only affect women, but they also affect men. So it's a societal problem. It's not an individual problem, but it's something that affects all of us. And while it's affecting them, it also comes back to us again, because now when a man's pressure piles up on them, who are they taking that out on? It then comes back again to us. So I feel as though we are definitely the most disadvantaged by gender roles, and it's very, very messy when it comes to that.
Gender stereotyping and gender roles don't seem to be so harmful until we take a closer look at them and we zoom in. Gender stereotyping, like you have said, Sibo, dictates that a man should have bucket 7 C's worth of sexual experience. What that means in today's context is that he's a high risk person of spreading HIV and AIDS, he's a high risk person of spreading STIs, he's also at a high risk of impregnating more people and not being able to own up and taking care of his children. Hence, we have more cases of single mothers and more children who have their fathers who deny them simply because, well, while he was doing what society wanted him to do, he left evidence of that which he did, and now that child is going to grow up without a father figure, and that's going to affect them. But at the root cause of all of that is gender stereotyping. It same goes for women. When women are expected not to have sexual experience, it's actually frowned upon. To be feminine means that you should be docile, you should be soft in nature, you should have zero sexual experience, and that makes you more appealing to society. What that means is that when I do have sexual experience, and my sexual experience brings me at a risk of getting an STI, and I do get an STI that is spread by having many sexual encounters, I'm shy. I can't go to the clinic and say, sister, I need medication, because, like, I've been doing the hanky-panky so many times because gender stereotypes say that as a woman, I can't do that. As a woman, I'm not supposed to be doing that. It goes back again to how we treat children, how we raise our children, the colors that we make them wear. Oh, why are you wearing a blue t-shirt, princess? Can't you see that we're wearing pink t-shirts? What is that? Why are you sure that you're a woman? Are you woman enough? All these questions, that we then have to deal with. For example, why are you wearing sneakers? Why aren't you wearing sandals? I'm sure you have other experiences that you'd like to share about gender stereotypes and gender roles that have also affected you.
I don't actually have any experience I would like to talk about on camera. But, nowadays we live in a society where we have multiple genders. It's no longer the basic two that we knew back then. Because back then, it was easy for you to confuse gender and sex. You think female gender, male, that's a gender, it's also sex. But now, having all those communities and those different genders, that's when you realize the difference between the two. And having all those different genders that we have now, each and every one of them has a particular problem that they face. But at the end of the day, we come back to the same root cause of the problem that we go back and talk about again and again, that we have the system in place, this patriarchy, which does no one any good. Even the men of it don't even benefit. Sibo has already told us how indoda must this, indoda must that. And at the end of the day, you have them have the audacity to then come back and point fingers at women instead of addressing the problem that, what, gents, this society or the system that we have is not productive for anyone. It's high time we come together and actually dismantle all the systems that actually put barriers and all those pressures on people, because at the end of the day, what we want is a society where each and every individual is free to express themselves. We want a situation where Rudo can be Rudo, Sibo can be Sibo, Princess can be Princess, without anyone infringing anything on anyone. Because if you can express yourself properly and be your best self, then at the end of the day, whatever you're going to do and touch or whatever is going to be the best, because you're the best version of yourself. And at the end of the day, we keep on crying about the economy, Zimbabwe, the government, whatever. But I think it all boils down to the fact that we don't have people who are genuinely themselves and confident in themselves to actually do something that they can be proud of and actually helps us at the end of the day.
Because when we speak of development at the core is human development. How do we foster human development? By ensuring that everyone reaches the potential or the full zenith of their capabilities and individual abilities. It means that also their personality and characteristics has to be fluidly expressed without them feeling like they are, not conforming to the standards or feeling like they don't belong. You raised something interesting actually. There's a report that said how gender stereotyping is a human rights issue in Zimbabwe, because we also have these other genders that are not catered for. Fine, we have males, we have females. What about everyone else? Where do they fit in? It means that even when policies are being put into place, these people won't be catered for. For example, if we put SRH policies, they're going to cater for men and women. What about all these other people? But when we look into HIV study, the key spreaders of HIV are what? People who belong to these other genders, but we're not catering for them. So it seems like an okay thing to say, Sibo, you know what, you can't do this. You can't say you like girls. You can't say you like cars and whatnot, until we realize that it goes into each and every aspect of society, each and every aspect of our daily lives. And even when we bring it up to a national level, development issues are affected because policies are made by the people for the people. But which people are we making policies for if no one is really who they want to be?
That's very, very interesting. Thank you so much for that. And another thing, to answer one of the questions that you asked Princess about what type of gender stereotyping has she faced. So personally, I'm a very strong-willed person. I will say what I want to say in a respectful way, of course, and I'll always go for what it is that I want to go for. And I've often been told, it's too much as a lady, you must sit, you shouldn't argue. When someone says something, who's going to marry you? But when it's a boy, you're so determined, you have zeal, you're a go-getter. But when I do it, I am moody, I am a B-word, I am so many things that are all connotated with negative effects. Whereas when a guy does it, it's wow, a leader. But when I speak up, when I own myself, I own my body, it's fabulous. But when it's a guy, my guy, you have game. 3 girls in one night. But then when it's you're called a whore. So I feel like there's so many things that are okay for one gender that are not okay for the other, that are harmful to both. Yes. Because as you said, our boys are at high risk of getting sick just to impress the boys. I want my boys to see that I can pull any hand I want. And the girls also, it's kind of like they don't have their freedom to explore their sexuality. They don't have the freedom to explore their sexual rights, etc. Of course, if you're over the age of consent. But then it's like that type of thing where we now have this huge differences that are being made that will also cause the two genders to resent each other as well. So I feel like these you said there's more than two, which will cause this wide spectrum of genders to resent each other. So I feel as though these gender roles and these stereotypes are very, very unproductive for community as a whole.
It's really something like gender stereotyping and ascribing certain roles to certain genders is a movement that is perpetuated by cowards who can't stand anyone enjoying who they are, who can't stand anyone freely expressing themselves, who can't stand or acknowledge the power that someone can have simply because of their gender. You're good at mathematics, we see you, but you're a girl. Like, really, yeah, fine, you can go to med school and do medicine, but do you know how hectic it is to be a doctor? How are you going to take care of your children? How are you going to take care of the household? Will you have time to please your husband? It same goes for men. There are a lot of men in our community, in Zimbabwe particularly, especially in Bulawayo, who could be opening up a lot of great restaurants, a lot of, food outlets, but they can't because what kind of a man?
It's not manly.
It's not manly to cook. It's not manly to know how to mix all those spices together. When did you even get the time and inspiration to do things like that? Which goes back again to development, even on a personal level, community level, and on a national level, because we have so many people who, when they go to university, what courses are acceptable? Okay, I'm going to do nursing, I'm going to do teaching because I'm a female. But what if I'm really going to be better out there as a singer? What if I'm going to be better out there as an actress? What if I'm going to be better to Zimbabwe as an astronaut and become the first Zimbabwean to step on the moon? That is going to wait for my son to be born 50 years from now because the mother couldn't do it because of a gender stereotype. So we're doing ourselves harm more than we're doing ourselves good. And then it boils down the question, which I think we can all attempt to answer. why are we still pushing gender stereotypes? Why are we still ascribing certain roles to certain genders if we are saying we are the 21st century generation? If we're saying we're the woke people, I mean, we're educated. We're educated, princess. Why are we still pushing gender stereotypes? Who is it that we're pleasing?
Because again, when we're starting this conversation, we said it's a monkey see, monkey do business. And she told us that example of the monkeys who later on understood, I can't go in there, but you don't know why. And now, again, it's an issue that, yes, we're woke or whatever, fine, but none of us are actually doing something about it, You're just like, I found it like this, it's always been like that, what can I do about it? And when you try to do something about it, then society frowns upon you. So I think, as of today, a viewer, listener, you need to sit down and introspect and ask yourself, do I like what's going on? No. Do I benefit from this system? No, I do not. What can I do about it? Because as an individual, you also have your part to play. You can't just sit back and wish a better world. No, you have a part to play. So moving forward, we genuinely need to, as individuals, do something about it. Start with yourself. Be an example. Express yourself, be yourself, genuine self, and don't worry about what the next person thinks or so and so does this or whatever. Just be your authentic self and be free in yourself. Once we all do that, then we have a room of people who are genuinely themselves. And when we have a room, it spreads a domino effect. That's what we need to kickstart the motion.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you totally, Princess. But in my view, I feel as though as the woke generation, as the 21st generation, as the educated generation, we need to understand that we were educated way before we were educated. These things were instilled in us. It's not easy to just wake up and be like, today I'm breaking gender roles. Because these are things that have been going on for centuries. These are things that have been instilled from ukoko to ugogo to umama to me. And it's not like I can just wake up one day and be like, no, because in all honesty, some of us are looking forward to these gender roles. In all honesty, when you're told from a young age, as a woman, one day you're going to grow up, you're going to have a husband, you're going to have a family to take care of, your kids, you kind of look up to that. That's why we have so many women longing for marriage. Because it's something that they look up to, because it's something that's been instilled in us. So I feel as though we shouldn't give ourselves that, I don't know what to call it. I don't think we should give ourselves that pressure to say, why are we not changing? We need to understand and give ourselves time to realize that this is what we've been taught. This is what has been put into us. So it will take time for us to re-educate ourselves, to be reset, because as I said, we were educated way before we were educated. Before you were put in that maths class, you were given dolls, you were given a baby, and your brother was given a car. So you need to understand that it's not going to be an overnight thing where I wake up and I'm like, today the gender roles, they don't exist anymore. It's a process that we have to go through as a community, where we teach each other to learn and appreciate and love ourselves, as Princess said, and we kind of learn to understand that no, these roles are not divine. They're not something that was set from the day we were made. No matter what you believe in, whether you believe in creation or you're an atheist or whatever, we all believe in something, and we all believe that there's a divine way of things to go. And I feel as though once we understand that gender was not something divine, it's not something certain or set, then that way we can then grow and get to understand and demolish these roles and toxic stereotypes.
Gender roles and gender stereotyping is a cultural construct. Culture is a methodology of how a people do things, and culture therefore can be changed. You can use one method to cook salsa today and another to cook salsa tomorrow. If that is what culture is, then we can change. We need to ensure that we all become free in who we are, in ourselves. That way we can develop, we can be better people, and we can also help each other to develop more as a nation and get rid of this third world status that we have. And while it's not easy to challenge gender roles like us, like how we've been spilling the tea, it's very easy for you to hit that subscribe button, like and follow us on all our social media pages as we continue to be gender champions and discuss other interesting issues.
Thank you.